We were live. Okay.
We're set on public.
Hey everyone, and welcome to the GP Walsh YouTube channel. I'm here. Good, we are live here with GP Walsh.
Hey everybody.
And GP has a video about non-duality and physical pain that's gotten a lot of responses. And it's something that will warrant more than what we're going to do right here, right now. But a couple things just I thought worthy of addressing right out of the gate with it, and to help clear up any confusion, especially because people, obviously the people with the most passionate responses are the ones actually dealing with pain, especially chronic pain. And I think it's easy to interpret what's being said as somehow it's like dismissive of the pain, and also at the same time that the sort of realization of what's being talked about is meant to be a treatment type video.
Right.
Like responses like, well, okay, so if there's no one to feel the pain and things of that nature, which is a bit oversimplification of it. It's certainly, I get that response a lot. That's a bit, because yes, that's not real. That doesn't capture the experience, because the response we've gotten, which is sort of correct, is who cares? What does that do for the pain?
Right.
And I think just an important thing to bring out of the gate is the moving into the experience of something, or sort of the realization that, let's say the realization that you're not something. Let's just put it on that level. That does not, the implication there is not that that automatically changes and corrects everything, and therefore there's no need to go to the doctor, there's no need to explore nutrition, there's no, just kind of get this non-dual thing that I'm talking about, and then that's all going to correct itself, right? Like, anymore, you never identify with your car. You never once accidentally thought you were your car. And it's not like in the realization of that suddenly you never need to change your tires, you never need to go to the mechanic, there's never anything wrong with it. It's just there's a very different relationship there. There's much less suffering in that process. Even, of course, the fact that it's physical pain makes it more direct in that sense. But it doesn't negate the fact that there still might be things to be done, things to do, corrections to be made, adjustments to be made, simply because of this inquiry that's being presented here. So I really wanted to let GP kind of address it on that level, because that does seem to be a common response coming up. Like, well, okay, so what? What does this actually do for the pain? Implying that you are, with the tone being that the implication behind your video, which is easy to interpret.
Yes.
In that way, is that you're saying that you get this, and that's going to fix your pain. You don't need a doctor. You don't need to do anything.
Right.
This inquiry is the answer to all pain.
And anybody who knows me know I don't speak like that. If you saw my diet, I mean, I eat very healthy. I avoid toxic stuff. I exercise regularly. I avoid things that are destructive. I eat organic food, none of the GM, and no processed food whatsoever. So it's not like you can get this idea and you can just be cavalier about it. You can eat nothing, drink wine and eat donuts, right? Those are going to have the effect. You still have to take care of it. But the only thing the point I like to drive home, and this is understood in holistic medicine. This isn't just me saying this. And as Evan pointed out, people can even take offense, and I've had some nasty things said actually about it. Like, well, so what? Slap yourself, and knock your head against the wall and see if you can feel it. It's nothing like that whatsoever. And even you hear people talk about it psychosomatic, and it's all in your head. It sounds like such a dismissal. It's not in your head. It's in your body. It hurts in your body. The question isn't whether or not the pain is real and in your body. The question is, what is the cause of it? If you simply are only willing to look at physical causes, then you're going to miss the boat in terms of the interaction between the mind and the body, between the emotional state and the feelings that are in your body, the energy in the body. Now, this is understood by a lot of MDs, right? It's not the mainstream view, because the mainstream is interested in selling expensive operations and drugs. I mean, excuse me for being so blunt, but that's what they're in business to do, is sell drugs. If if everybody suddenly was meditating and curing all their pain, they wouldn't be selling a lot of drugs. And meditation is cheap. So it's a bit cynical, I know, but this is the way our world works. So the cause of the pain, sometimes it is purely physiological. Sometimes you break your arm, it hurts. You cut yourself, it hurts. But if there's a chronic pain going on somewhere in your body that is really beginning to bend your body out of shape, something that's consistent, and statistically they define a chronic pain as a pain that lasts longer than 3 months. That's what the medical community regards as chronic pain. Isn't it possible that there is a deeply seated emotional issue that is at work? Maybe it's a level of self-denial and self-recrimination and pain and guilt and all sorts of different things that is manifesting itself in your body. And for the strict materialist to say it's manifesting in your body, they don't pay any attention to that. But for a growing number of people who are studying these things, the subtle relationship between our emotional states and our bodies is understood to be significant. So significant that those who have actually taken that up and have gone after the emotional component have a near 100% success rate at eliminating chronic pain. So the most important point I want to say is that when I approach it from the point of non-duality, I'm approaching it from a spiritual point of view, which means that at the heart and soul of everything we experience is our sense of identity, who we think we are, what we believe to be true about ourselves, what we believe is important, all of our values, put all that stuff together. When there's an internal conflict between those things, it can't help but manifest as various kinds of pains in your body. Just like it can manifest as, strife or conflict within a relationship, it can manifest, at work, maybe even, having a hard time finding a job, having money problems. We can see that all of those, that the emotions involved are obvious and a big deal. Nobody says you broke your arm so you're not going to make any money. Nobody says that. But so why is it that big of a stretch to think that that same level of emotional distress isn't causing physical symptoms within the body? It does. Now, I'm not a doctor, so you can't say, this is therapy, GP said. No, I'm not a doctor, right? But if you talk to holistic doctors, and many, many doctors who are coming down on the side of this, they know that there's a subtle relationship between the two. And my own feeling about it is very simple, that our pains in the body are a direct result of not listening to our own feelings, of suppression, of pushing things away, of denying ourselves, of just doing everything we can to stay small, to stay constricted, to stay constrained. This is a paraphrase, but one of the guy who wrote the book, Mind-Body Connection, Dr. John Sarno, made the comment. He says, physical pain is a really great way to keep you from having to go into your feelings. It is a perfect distraction. So you're so focused on this pain that you're not actually looking at your own feelings in your life, or what's out of whack in your life, how you feel about yourself. This is what I'm suggesting here. Not that the pain is somehow imaginary and you're crazy, you're hallucinating, but the cause of the pain is being out of a relationship with yourself. It's being out of love with yourself, out of honoring yourself, out of being interested enough in yourself to explore your own desires, your own feelings, your own concerns, your own values, to be able to actually ask for what you want out of life, and be willing to do things to get it. All of that gets suppressed in us when we're young. And if it's never liberated, it will make for a constricted feeling life, and it will also cause physical illnesses. It will cause physical pain. And if it's a chronic pain, it simply means there's this tension in the system that is doing its best to fight against you doing the one thing that you need to do, And that's turn your attention inside to find out what's really going on, what really matters to you. So I'm quite comfortable in putting this kind of therapeutic approach to the healing of pain and emotion, in both emotional and physical pain, smack dab in the middle of spirituality. What spirituality is, it's not esoteric practices, it's not some special bunch of ideas, it's simply the deep desire to know the truth of your own being, to find out who you really are. And at the core of that, you can't help but discover all of the things that have been blocking you from fully expressing who you are. And that to me is where this idea of pain, the whole functioning of the body, becomes completely connected and immersed with the functioning of our emotions, our thoughts, and ultimately our spiritual ambitions.
So inner reconciliation, which is the main sort of umbrella term for the process that GP has put out there and that I use and I facilitate with, one of the most important things about it, if not the essence of it in a lot of ways, is not taking a position about anything that's going on. So I would say it's equally dangerous to take the position when you're experiencing some pain and you're obviously, in some cases looking online, looking at different solutions, both physical and emotional, which I think are all smart things to do. It's equally dangerous to interpret that as, okay, therefore it must be just something emotional, so I refuse to go to doctors, I refuse to change my diet, I couldn't possibly have nerve damage, it must be emotional. It's not about taking a position in that way, it's about a real openness, in my opinion, to everything. And the more open you are when you go in it, because it's only if you're locked into a position on either side that you would interpret a teaching like that, such as, okay, I'm experiencing this pain, and therefore it's the correct way to deal with it is I just have to sit down and find the emotional problem, and at the exclusion of any other type of physical therapy, anything like that. You're going to be looking at it from a equally narrow point of view, as if you're totally opposed to any type of inner inquiry or any type of looking at the emotional content, right? It's equally dangerous to say it must be only this, right? The more open you are, the more, in fact, if it is something that really needs some immediate physical attention, whether that's as simple as like a brace to, there's nerve damage, or there's something where you need some alignment, you need to see a chiropractor, you need to see somebody to kind of, in my experience with this type of work, and obviously I don't have chronic pain or anything on that level, I've had an experience recently that I think helped give me some compassion on that, where I literally couldn't walk, and luckily for me it lasted a day, but this process really helped explore that, to just help give me a little bit of context. In that, one thing I can say did happen was, as I was doing this type of process with that, I wasn't in it with the mentality of like, okay, well, based on these things that GP is saying, or many people talk about mind-body connection, the only valid thing to do is to now try to somehow heal this internally. What I did get was, sitting there with the pain in the way that we kind of do with inner reconciliation, was my body sort of told me to do some specific things that actually were kind of hard to do. Like, it was really hard to get out of bed, and it hurt to do it because it just, like, my back would seize up. But just sort of sitting with that openness, it was like, okay, yeah, this is going to suck, but don't just lay here, was sort of what my body was telling me. Like, people would probably have told me the advice, no, just stay on your back. But something was telling me, this is going to hurt, but get up and get on the floor and do some of these exercises, which I did find online, right? So, like, that's all valid in my view, but it was the approach of really being open and really listening, which is something that's kind of done in these non-dual, even the non-dual videos, right? They're not just to give you another stance to put on, like, okay, therefore at the highest level of this teaching, it's a projection, therefore your arm can't be broken. Like, no, you may need to put it in a cast, right? Like the real non-duality
You
is
need to
that
project a cast.
right, right. It's not that the one is real and the other thing is it's only the absolute is real and therefore the relative isn't real. It's that they're not two. They
Yes.
aren't two different things. They are one. It's beyond oneness, right? It's like so. It's just as much that you might need to lay on your back and put a tennis ball, which is So again, I just really want to emphasize that it's not about saying that there can't be a physical issue because there's no physical reality. That's an irresponsible teaching, in my view, to somebody who's sitting there with nerve damage or something like that.
Mm-hmm.
Right? It's about this openness to, man, why not explore it on all levels as deeply as you can? If there's even a 1% emotional component and an 80% physical component, and then the rest of the percent genetics or something.
Right.
Well, let's get to as much of it as we can and be open as we can to all levels, right? So.
Yeah. Do we have some questions?
How can you think of highest vibration when chronic pain seems to drown it out? Don't. Because that means you're thinking of the highest vibration as some sort of pain-free state and not available to you right now, even in pain.
And you're trying to get to that high vibration to get rid of the pain. So you're trying to get out of the situation. We keep inviting you to go more deeply into it. Yeah, as if somehow this high vibration isn't present because I'm in pain. Isn't it possible to be vibrating at the highest level and still be in pain? And there's still stuff going on in your body that vibration then can now open you to, and you can find the solution to?
I would say that there's a lot of things out there that would say no. If you were in the right, if you were doing it right, you would have no pain and you would be out of debt and you would instantly.
And I say, bullshit. That's my response to that. Because all it does is make you alienate you from yourself and make you feel worse. That's all that accomplishes. Right? You can be fully present. If you are fully present with what's there, without an agenda, without trying to manipulate things, to really be open, as Evan kept talking, being open so that the body can communicate to you what it needs. You are in the highest vibration. That is the highest vibration that is available in that moment. You're not trying to get to some altered state somewhere that'll just fix everything. That doesn't exist. Vibration is presence. And if you are present, you are in the highest vibration, and it will have an effect, I guarantee you.
And it follows up saying the doctors just want to give me drugs and have told me I can't overcome it. The drugs make life even worse. I would just say don't immediately assume they don't know what they're talking about or that you don't need the drugs, because that's sort of another position. I would just, that's what I would put out there. To not emphasize this as meaning, well, nobody needs drugs, or that there could not be some component of that where the drugs might help. It's taking a really open position that just being really present. What happens when you take them, right? What's your emotional experience and physical experience when you take them versus not take them? And if the drugs are making your life worse and you find that the pain is, you'd prefer the physical pain to the alleviation that the drugs might give, because, again, I'm an idiot when it comes to this stuff, but I know from some personal experience that there are certain things whose their primary function is so that you don't feel the pain.
Right.
But then you can actually bend things where you shouldn't. The pain would tell you
Don't
do that, but because you're taking some pain suppression. Now, obviously, I would think a doctor here would know what they were talking about and give you better advice around that. But that's just an example of really closely checking in and really getting deeply in touch with the experience, and not so much just in case you're doing this, well, the doctors want to give me drugs, but the spiritual approach is no drugs.
Right.
Don't create this division like that.
Yeah, don't do that. And yes, there are some spiritual traditions that say, no, you don't do it. just don't do it, period, and there are doctors who have no belief whatsoever in a mind-body connection, and you're gonna run into both. I am going to be doing a class coming up in a couple of months. I'm not ready to announce it yet, but I'm going to be doing it with somebody who specializes in chronic pain, and she herself had it from the time she was a young woman, and she was told she'd never have children, she'd never walk normally, she was going to have vertebrae fused. So her condition would look about as physical as it could possibly be. She wouldn't even be able to, she could adopt kids, she wouldn't be able to hold them. And she completely cured it through an emotional process. She became a student of Dr. John Sarno, who's one of the leaders of it. She's become an expert on it. We're going to be doing a class together on it. I'll be announcing that as we go along. But she developed a process by which you can begin to get to this, the emotional center behind the pain. And she has now had 3 kids. She's completely pain-free. She lifts them, she plays with them, she does stuff with them. She's very active. And now she has 5 kids. She's with a partner who also had 2 children. So she's, her desire to be a mom was very much fulfilled. And the doctor's diagnosis was just simply incorrect. So I'm in no position to judge the medical community, but I know some doctors are open to this and some aren't. And some think it's always physical. I would urge you to seek out holistic doctors, naturopaths. I mean, it's important if you have chronic pain, exhaust every possibility. And the only point we're trying to make in this live stream is that at least consider that there is an emotional component, at least an emotional component to it, if not a complete emotional cause for it. At least consider it, because the mainstream still doesn't. Even though there's countless examples of these emotional processes working and relieving chronic pain of the severest kind, the mainstream has simply not adopted it. It's not what's normally regarded. So all I want to do at this point is to encourage you to explore the possibility of it.
And that the non-dual things presented in that video or other videos of GP, or, well, I can only really say for GP, it's the kind of mental distillation of it. Okay, well, so nothing's really real, and therefore there's no pain or there's no person, so you should... It is useless.
Yeah, totally
the
useless.
comment, well, isn't that useless, is correct. That's not what that's for. That's a line of inquiry that goes really deep and will really actually oftentimes take you more deeply into the physical experience of whatever is going on, and more deeply into the emotions that are going on. So it's really a deep line of inquiry. It's not a theory that's meant to dismiss anyone's pain or meant to dismiss what you're experiencing in any way, or to say, well, you don't really have physical damage because it's all a projection. We would never say that.
Never.
It's easy to interpret some of those things that way. So I have to run.
Yes.
We can continue this at any time. We have a nice setup here now where it's easy for us to do this. So please leave comments. Somebody left something. If you could leave that as a comment after this, so we have it. We'll be doing more of these now that we have this set up.
Yeah.
And innerreconciliation.com has some free exercises that kind of give you the background and take you through the meditation that originally I got interested. It wasn't chronic, but what originally hooked me on this was an experience of pain, and I was internally resisting it and did one of these exercises and just kind of relaxed into it. So there's some guided stuff on that may be helpful. It may even just open up some possibilities at whatever level of pain you might be experiencing if you want to explore this a little bit. So yeah, keep in touch with us. Subscribe if you want to see the moment we go live and do these. Like I said, we'll be doing them more. I guess that's it, huh?
That's it.
Okay, thanks
you all.
everybody.